Well, as always, there are two sides to conspiracies, and we're about to, how should we say, we'll take a look at the conspiracy side first, and then we'll take a look at what's actually going on, what basically Mr. Watson isn't telling you, and what is actually the truth, and essentially what makes him not even a journalist, but a propagandaist. So let's get on, shall we? We'll listen to what he has to say.
Grammy Award-winning singer Lauryn Hill has been ordered by a judge to, quote, undergo counselling because of her conspiracy theories. What was her conspiracy theory? That the music industry oppresses people with actual talent in favour of pumping out mindless crap. Yesterday, Hill was sentenced to 3 months in jail, followed by 3 months home confinement, after failing to pay a tax bill because she had withdrawn from society following threats to her family. In June last year, Hill posted a diatribe to her Tumblr account complaining of how the music industry is, quote, manipulated and controlled by a media-protected military-industrial complex. As we've highlighted,
Now, what you just heard there, it's true, that's what she did. She did post this about the music industry. However, here's the thing. Most people understand how the music industry works. You've got to put a lot of effort in to actually succeed, and if you do succeed, you get mainly two options to you. You can do what is called selling out. Now, if you do sell out, you make a heck of a lot of money. And there are a lot of very, very successful, good bands out there that have done just that. And they've made absolute fortunes out of it. And they've got to a point where they got so rich, they were able to break away from the music industry. Because that's what they wanted to, and they were smart enough to do so. Now you get the other type who do exactly that, except they never break away from the music industry, not because they're not, smart enough to do so or anything like that, but because they don't want to. They have a lot of stuff that is done for them that if they broke away, they'd have to do themselves. And quite frankly, they think it's, well, too much hassle for them. So, not really. Anyway, if you go back to this page, she did get jailed for paying her tax bill because she'd been off the grid, so to say, for about 2 years. This left her with a, as you can see it there, yep, 500,000 bill, basically, which she basically hasn't paid. So, that's what she's going to jail for. Now, where does the counselling come into it? Well, I'll tell you this, it has absolutely nothing to do with her music conspiracy thing. That's not what she's being jailed for. In fact, Watson is being entirely dishonest because you can tell he's read the article, but he obviously thinks that, how should we say, what she's really going to jail for, well, what she's really getting the counselling for, is not that. Something about artists being upset about the music industry isn't a conspiracy theory. There are many artists that are upset about the current music industry, and quite frankly they don't do anything about it because they make quite a lot of money from it, so they basically complain a lot of the time without actually doing anything. Now let's actually go to this page, shall we? Now, here's this thing, the issue I said, yep, she withdrew from society against alleged threats made against her family. Well, if that had happened, why didn't she call the police? Why didn't she get, the police involved with this? If someone's making threats against you, you are allowed to bring the police in. It doesn't say who was making the threats or anything like that. So Watson says that it's the music industry, but it wasn't. Anyway, now we come down a bit further down the page. Here's the part where she makes the rant about the music industry. But this is what was important, and this is why she's being received counselling, basically. During the trial, there it is, during the trial, Hill claimed that she had been forced to live under the pernicious economic hierarchy imposed by the slave trade. Oh. Okay. Page just reloaded. Okay, well, let me find where I am. Yeah, here we are. Yeah, imposed by the slave trade. Don't know about you, but I don't think the slave trade has had anything to do with your situation at all. Bear in mind, the slave trade hasn't existed for quite a number of years. That's quite frankly a ridiculous excuse. Mainly she's done that because she hasn't wanted to pay her taxes. She goes on to say, I'm a child of former slaves who have had a system imposed on them, and an economic system imposed on me. So she's basically using slavery as an excuse not to pay her taxes. Sorry, but okay, you may be a child of former slaves, but guess what? You have the choice now to go and live wherever you want, and unfortunately, wherever you go and live, you'll have to pay taxes to that society that you are living in to contribute to education, health, general public welfare, basically, that you would have to go and live and contribute in, unless you want to go and live in Somalia, where there is, which is, I've said many times, is a libertarian paradise. But yeah, basically this is what Watson's not saying. This is the reason why she's been told to receive counselling, because quite frankly this is a ridiculous reason. There are going to be people, I guarantee, who are going to come out and chastise me for this, for what I'm saying, but I'm sorry. Blaming the slave trade on your position and your reason for not paying taxes is absolutely ludicrous. Again, you're a child of a former slave. You're also quite a famous pop singer who has quite a bit of money behind you, so you have full right to go and live wherever the hell you want. You know, if you don't like the US system that you've supposedly had imposed upon you, you can go to another country very easily. So that's why she's been told to go for counselling, and it's not psychological evaluation or anything like that. But if we skip to the end of the video, where are we? Here we are. Yeah, you'll see this pop up. A field guide to the conspiracy theorist dark minds in Psychology Today. It's quite a good article because basically, ironically, it's a psychological study of conspiracy theorists. And it's a very interesting read, so I'd highly recommend it. I'll probably post a link down in the underbar to read it, because it's quite a good read. But again, it basically tells you what conspiracy theorists are. They become paranoid the more and more they get into conspiracy theorists. They're very, well, they're very untrusting, apparently, from what I remember reading of it. But then Paul goes on to say later on that apparently there's been a rise in medical lobotomies. Again, he says that with no proof of. He says it with no proof. Really, I haven't been able to find any. There's been a rise, but you know, medical lobotomies, let me tell you now, are very, 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 very incredibly rare. In fact, you would only receive a medical lobotomy if you had a psychological illness which was causing you to be basically violent, and basically no matter what they tried, you were still being violent, you were harming yourself and others to an extent where they'd have to lobotomise you. And you'd have to basically, to lobotomise someone, you not only have to have written consent from your family members, your next of kin, 3 psychologists and a doctor claiming that basically they've tried everything they can and basically this is the option of last resort. So that's how difficult it is to basically have one signed to be done. So again, Watson talks out of his ass, and again I'd highly recommend reading this, A Field Guide to the Conspiracy Theorists, Dark Minds and Psychology Today. Like I said, I'll post a link down below, but again, Watson's being an idiot, because quite frankly, Lauryn Hill, basically, she's gone to jail for not paying a tax bill. That's why she's gone, and during that time she's been ordered to have some counselling, because quite frankly, the slave trade is not a valid reason for not paying your taxes.